Inspector!
Television shows never really leave us. They become part of the fabric of childhood memories, afternoons after school, lazy Saturday mornings. Gilligan's Island ran for just 3 seasons from 1964 to 1967, but those 98 episodes have been playing somewhere on television ever since. The bumbling first mate, the patient skipper, the resourceful professor, sweet Mary Ann, glamorous Ginger, and the eccentric Howells created a world that felt both absurd and strangely comforting. Today, we're counting down the 10 episodes that make us want to rewatch The Gilligan's Island. Number 10, Goodbye Island, Season 1, Episode 8. Aired November 21st, 1964. The castaways discover a glue-like tree sap that Gilligan had been trying to turn into pancake syrup. When the professor realizes this substance is waterproof and incredibly strong, they decide to patch up the SS Minnow and sail back to civilization. The excitement builds as they work together to repair the boat, each castaway contributing what they can to the effort. What makes this episode memorable is the series of physical comedy bits that unfold as they work with the super strong adhesive. The castaways try to eat pancakes that stick to everything they touch. The skipper and Gilligan get glued to the boat itself while applying the patches. Every attempt to unstick themselves only makes things worse, with clothing, tools, and eventually other castaways getting bonded together in increasingly ridiculous ways. The boat is finally ready to launch, but in true Gilligan's Island fashion, everything goes wrong at the last possible moment. The vessel sinks in spectacular fashion before they can even leave the lagoon. It's one of only 3 episodes in the entire series to feature scenes on the original beach where they were shipwrecked, giving viewers a rare glimpse of that location. The ending perfectly captures the show's essential formula: hope, effort, comedy, and ultimately, they're still stuck on the island. Number 9, Water, Water Everywhere. Season 1, Episode 14. Aired January 2nd, 1965. The castaways face one of the most realistic survival challenges they encounter in the entire series. Their fresh water supply runs completely dry. The professor had set up an elaborate irrigation system with Gilligan operating a bamboo bicycle attached to a pulley that powered a water wheel. The system was working beautifully until the spring that fed it suddenly dried up. Without water, the castaways quickly become irritable and start turning on each other. The social organization of their little community begins to break down. They blame Gilligan for the problem, even though he had nothing to do with it, and excommunicate him from the group. He's forced to sleep outside and fend for himself while the others ration what little water remains. Naturally, it's Gilligan who saves everyone. While wandering alone, he discovers a frog. Following the frog leads him to a new water source, and he returns to the camp a hero. The episode features voice work by Mel Blanc, the legendary voice actor who provided the frog's croaking sounds. What stands out about this episode is how grounded the premise feels compared to some of the show's more outlandish storylines. A shortage of fresh water is exactly the kind of problem real castaways would face. Number 8, St. Gilligan and the Dragon. Season 1, Episode 20. Aired February 13th, 1965. The women of the island go on strike. They're tired of doing all the cooking and cleaning, while the men just sit around making plans that never work. Mrs. Howell references the ancient Greek play Lysistrata, explaining how the women in that story refused to pay attention to the men unless they got what they wanted. She lingers pointedly on that word, completely, when addressing her husband. The episode openly addresses the unequal division of labor in the camp. Mary Ann and Ginger still don't even have their own hut. They've been sleeping in a shared space the entire time they've been stranded. The women decide enough is enough and move to the other side of the island to establish their own camp. The men, led by Mr. Howell's male chauvinism, decide they can manage just fine without the women. Of course they can't. The men's attempts at cooking and housekeeping are disasters. Meanwhile, the women discover they're perfectly capable of handling everything themselves. Eventually, both sides realize they need each other, but the women have made their point. The episode is surprisingly progressive for 1965 television, dealing directly with gender roles and domestic labor in a way that many sitcoms of that era avoided. Number 7, The Big Gold Strike. Season 1, Episode 19, aired February 6th, 1965. While working for Mr. Howell in an underground cavern, Gilligan discovers gold. The moment he realizes what he's found, everything changes. Suddenly, everyone on the island wants a piece of Gilligan and his newfound riches. The 7 castaways who have been living together cooperatively out of necessity immediately revert to greed and jealousy. Mr. Howell claims the gold belongs to him since Gilligan was technically working for him when he found it. Gilligan insists he should keep it since he's the one who discovered it. The professor suggests they settle the ownership question with a proper trial, complete with arguments from both sides. The trial becomes a showcase for the cast, with each castaway taking on different roles in the proceedings. What makes this episode particularly memorable is how it examines what money actually means when you're stranded on an island. The gold is completely worthless in their current situation. They can't eat it, can't use it to signal for rescue, can't build anything with it, yet the mere presence of wealth causes the entire social structure to collapse. It's a pointed commentary on human nature and the power that money holds over people even when that power is completely illogical. Number 6. The Producer. Season 3, Episode 3. Aired October 3rd, 1966. A Hollywood producer named Harold Hecuba crashes his plane on the island. He's played by Phil Silvers, one of the great comedic actors of that era, and he brings an energy to the episode that elevates everything around him. Hecuba is obnoxious, demanding, and completely self-absorbed. In other words, the perfect caricature of a Hollywood mogul. The castaways realize this is their chance for rescue. If they can convince Hecuba to return to civilization and tell people where they are, they'll finally be saved. But Hecuba isn't interested in leaving. He's fallen in love with the peace and quiet of island life. To change his mind, the castaways decide to stage a musical production that will remind him of show business and make him want to return to Hollywood. They settle on performing a musical adaptation of Hamlet. The scenes where they rehearse and perform this bizarre production are comedy gold. Ginger plays Ophelia, the skipper is Hamlet, and everyone else fills out the remaining roles with varying degrees of success. Hecuba watches in horror at first, but as the production continues, he can't help but get involved, micromanaging and directing from the audience. The episode is directed by Ida Lupino, one of the few women directors working in television at that time. It's one of the most beloved episodes of the entire series, combining physical comedy, theatrical parody, and the show's signature blend of hope and disappointment. Number 5. Don't Bug the Mosquitoes. Season 2, Episode 12. Aired December 9th, 1965. A rock band called the Mosquitoes lands on the island looking for peace and quiet. The group is an obvious parody of the Beatles, complete with matching outfits, mop-top hairstyles, and British accents. The Mosquitoes are played by the Wellingtons, the same group that performed the first season's version of the Gilligan's Island theme song. The castaways see the band as their ticket off the island, but the Mosquitoes just want to be left alone. They're exhausted from touring and need a break from screaming fans. To convince them to leave and send back help, the castaways decide to become the most annoying fans imaginable. The women form their own singing group called the Honeybees, complete with matching outfits and synchronized dance moves. What follows is a delightful parody of mid-1960s pop culture. The Honeybees perform for the Mosquitoes, desperately trying to get their attention. Tina Louise and Dawn Wells clearly have a wonderful time hamming it up as wannabe rock stars. The episode captures the Beatles phenomenon that was sweeping America at the time, but filters it through Gilligan's Island's unique comedic sensibility. It works as both homage and satire. Number 4. Pass the Vegetables, Please. Season 3, Episode 1. Aired September 12th, 1966. This is one of the most surreal episodes in the entire series. The castaways discover a crate of vegetable seeds washed up on shore. They plant them eagerly, looking forward to fresh produce. What they don't know is that the seeds are radioactive, part of some government experiment that went wrong. After eating the vegetables, the castaways develop bizarre superpowers. Gilligan gains incredible strength and can lift boulders over his head. Mary Ann develops supervision and can see for miles. Mrs. Howell suddenly has unlimited energy and can't stop moving. Each castaway manifests a different ability based on which vegetables they ate. The episode makes absolutely no scientific sense, but that's not the point. This is 1966 Gilligan's Island operating at peak absurdity. The effects of the radioactive vegetables lead to some of the show's best physical comedy as the castaways struggle to control their new abilities. Gilligan accidentally destroys half the camp with his strength. Mrs. Howell exhausts everyone around her with her boundless energy. It's complete nonsense, and it's absolutely hilarious. Eventually, the professor figures out what's wrong and finds a way to reverse the effects. Everything returns to normal, but the episode remains a fan favorite for its willingness to completely abandon realism in favor of pure comedy. Number 3. Gilligan's Living Doll. Season 2, Episode 21. Aired February 17, 1966. A robot washes ashore on the island. She's a sophisticated machine designed to perform household tasks, and she's programmed to follow whoever gives her commands. The robot becomes an object of competition among the castaways, with each person trying to use her for their own purposes. The robot, named Rover by Gilligan, can cook, clean, and perform various other tasks perfectly. She represents technology's promise to make life easier, but in the hands of the castaways, she becomes just another thing to argue about. The professor is fascinated by her construction and wants to study her. The Howells want her as their personal servant. Ginger and Mary Ann see her as a way to finally get some help with the housework. What makes this episode special is how it examines the castaways' relationship with technology. The professor can build radios out of coconuts, but they can't make a working raft. They have a functioning robot, but they can't figure out how to use her to signal for rescue. The robot's presence highlights the absurdity of their situation. They have access to advanced technology, but they're still trapped. The episode features some impressive special effects for 1960s television. The robot moves smoothly and performs complex tasks. For a show that usually relied on practical effects and simple props, this episode represented a significant technical achievement. Number 2. Voodoo, Something to Me. Season 1, Episode 4. Aired October 17, 1964. Somebody has been breaking into the supply hut and stealing food. The castaways set up watches and investigate, trying to figure out who the culprit is. Suspicion falls on each person in turn as they try to determine if there's a killer on the island, or if something supernatural is at work. The skipper insists it must be part of a voodoo curse. He becomes convinced that dark forces are at work, and his superstition begins to affect the others. Gilligan discovers a strange cave with voodoo dolls inside, each one resembling a different castaway. The tension builds as they try to figure out what's real and what's imagined. This is one of the earliest episodes of the series, airing just a few weeks into the first season, and it established that Gilligan's Island could venture into darker territory when it wanted to. The voodoo theme creates genuine suspense, even as the show maintains its comedic tone. The revelation at the end provides a logical explanation for everything, but the journey to get there keeps viewers guessing. The episode shows the versatility of the show's format. The same premise that could support silly comedy about coconut radios could also sustain a mystery story with supernatural overtones. That flexibility is part of what made the show work so well over 3 seasons. Number 1, Two on a Raft. Season 1, Episode 3. Aired October 10th, 1964. This was the series' premiere episode, the first one audiences saw when Gilligan's Island debuted on September 26, 1964. The pilot episode that was actually filmed first featured different actors in some roles and was never broadcast until decades later. Two on a Raft introduces viewers to the established routine of the castaways and demonstrates the show's essential formula. Gilligan and the skipper build a raft from materials they find on the island. They're determined to paddle to civilization and bring back help for the others. The raft construction sequence shows the resourcefulness that would become a hallmark of the series. The professor's scientific knowledge combined with practical problem-solving. They launch the raft with high hopes. Everything goes wrong immediately. A storm blows them off course. They encounter sharks. They end up on a deserted atoll even more remote than their island. Meanwhile, back at the main island, the remaining castaways believe Gilligan and the skipper have drowned. They hold a funeral service and mourn their lost friends, creating some genuinely emotional moments. When Gilligan and the skipper finally make it back to the island, exhausted and defeated, the others are overjoyed, but they're also right back where they started, no closer to rescue than before. This episode perfectly encapsulates everything Gilligan's Island would become. The hope of escape, the comedy of errors, the genuine affection between the characters, and the inevitable return to their island prison. It's the template that would sustain 98 episodes of television. Honorable mentions. Several other episodes deserve recognition for their contributions to the show's legacy. The Friendly Physician from Season 2 is the only episode where the entire cast actually leaves the island, though they're quickly returned by a mad scientist. Meet the Meteor from Season 2 features a meteor that crashes on the island and begins aging everyone rapidly through cosmic radiation. Gilligan vs. Gilligan from Season 3 has Gilligan convinced he's developed a split personality after everyone starts disappearing one by one. You've Been Disconnected from Season 2 features the discovery of an underwater telephone cable that the castaways try to use to call for help. Seer Gilligan from Season 2 has Gilligan eating seeds that give him apparent mind-reading powers. Each of these episodes showcases different aspects of what made Gilligan's Island work. Some leaned into pure slapstick, others explored science fiction concepts. A few dealt with social issues in surprisingly progressive ways. Together, they created a body of work that has entertained multiple generations. Why we keep watching. Gilligan's Island was canceled after its third season in 1967. Not because of poor ratings, but because CBS wanted to move Gunsmoke to Monday nights. The show had beaten Bonanza in its first season and continued to perform well. When creator Sherwood Schwartz was told the show would be renewed for a fourth season, some cast members even bought houses near the set. Then the cancellation came without warning while everyone was on vacation, but the show never really ended. It went immediately into syndication and has been airing somewhere on television ever since. Children who watched it in the 1960s introduced it to their own children in the 1980s and 1990s. Now grandparents share it with their grandchildren. The show spawned 3 TV movie sequels, animated spin-offs, and countless references in popular culture. The format itself became a template that countless other shows would borrow from. The idea of a group of mismatched people forced to work together in isolation has been used over and over again. But none of the imitators captured quite the same magic. There was something special about the chemistry between these 7 actors playing these 7 very different characters. Looking back now, the show represents a different era of television. There were no season-long story arcs, no character development that carried over from week to week. Each episode stood alone, and by the end, everything returned to the status quo. The castaways never got rescued, never changed, never aged. That repetitive structure would be considered a weakness in modern television. But for Gilligan's Island, it was actually a strength. You could watch episodes in any order and never feel lost. The simplicity was part of the appeal. The problems were always straightforward. The solutions always failed in predictable ways. The humor relied on physical comedy and gentle personality clashes rather than mean-spirited jokes or cutting remarks. Nobody ever said anything truly cruel to anyone else. Even when the castaways argued or competed, there was an underlying affection that never disappeared. What keeps people coming back is the show's fundamental warmth. Yes, the castaways are stuck on an island. Yes, every rescue attempt fails. But they have each other. They've created a functioning society with rules, cooperation, and genuine affection. The professor never stops trying to solve problems scientifically. The skipper never stops looking out for Gilligan despite his mistakes. Mary Ann and Ginger maintain their dignity and independence. The Howells discover that money doesn't matter as much as community. Bob Denver, Alan Hale Jr., Jim Backus, Natalie Schaefer, Tina Louise, Russell Johnson, and Dawn Wells created characters so memorable that their names became cultural touchstones. The simple theme song explained everything viewers needed to know in less than a minute. The premise was absurd, but the execution was sincere. 98 episodes across 3 seasons gave us countless memorable moments, from radioactive vegetables to musical versions of Shakespeare to robots and rock bands. The show that critics dismissed as silly and stupid became one of the most enduring sitcoms in television history. Those 7 castaways on that uncharted desert isle taught us that you could survive anything as long as you had good friends, a positive attitude, and maybe a professor who could build just about anything out of coconuts and bamboo. If you enjoyed this trip down memory lane, please give this video a like and subscribe to our channel for more classic television content. What's your favorite Gilligan's Island episode? Let us know in the comments below.